Hello, and welcome to History Republic. In today's episode, we're going to talk about one of my personal favorites, Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, also known as Alexander III of Macedon, is one of the most famous figures in history. He became king at the age of 20 after the assassination of his father, Philip II. Alexander is known for his military conquests, which saw him expand his empire from Greece to Egypt, Persia, and beyond. He is considered one of the greatest military commanders in history, and his legacy still resonates today. Alexander was born in 356 BC in Pella, the capital of the ancient kingdom of Macedon. He was the son of King Philip II of Macedon and his wife Olympias, who was the daughter of the king of Epirus. Philip II was a powerful king who had transformed Macedon into a dominant force in Greece. He had reorganized the Macedonian army, introducing new tactics and weapons that made it one of the most effective fighting forces in the ancient world. Philip II also had ambitious plans to expand Macedon's influence beyond Greece and into the larger world of the Eastern Mediterranean. Alexander grew up in the midst of this world of power and ambition. He was raised in the royal court and was exposed to the workings of politics and warfare from an early age. Despite his privileged upbringing, Alexander was not without his challenges. His parents had a tumultuous relationship, and his mother was known for her fierce personality and her belief in the supernatural. Alexander's father had multiple wives and children, which led to a complicated family dynamic. Alexander the Great received an exceptional education from some of the most distinguished thinkers of his time, including Aristotle, one of the greatest philosophers of ancient Greece. Under Aristotle's tutelage, Alexander studied a wide range of subjects, including philosophy, mathematics, science, and literature. He has also learned how to debate and argue persuasively, which helped him become an effective leader and communicator later in life. In addition to his formal education, Alexander was exposed to the art and culture of ancient Greece from a young age. He was particularly interested in epic poetry, and he was known to carry a copy of Homer's Iliad with him on his military campaigns. Alexander saw himself as a hero, like the characters in Homer's epic poems, and he was determined to make a name for himself. Alexander's education had a profound impact on his worldview and his leadership style. He was deeply influenced by Greek philosophy and culture, and he believed that it was his destiny to spread these ideas to other parts of the world. He was also inspired by the example of the legendary Greek hero Achilles, whom he saw as a model of bravery and determination. This gave him the intellectual and cultural tools he needed to conquer vast territories and to create a lasting legacy that continues to inspire people to this day. Now let's talk about how he ascended to the throne. Alexander the Great became king of Macedonia after the death of his father, King Philip II, in 336 BC. He was assassinated at the wedding celebration of his daughter Cleopatra to the king of Epirus, Alexander I. The assassin was a disgruntled former member of Philip's inner circle named Pausanias, who had been humiliated by Philip and was seeking revenge. Pausanias was immediately killed by Philip's bodyguard, and several of his associates were also implicated in the plot. There have been various theories over the years about who may have been behind the assassination, including Alexander the Great himself. However, there is no conclusive evidence to support any of these claims, and most historians believe that Pausanias acted alone in carrying out the assassination. After the assassination of his father, Alexander the Great had to move quickly to consolidate his power in Greece. He knew that his father's sudden death had left some Greeks uncertain about the stability of Macedonian rule, so he had to take steps to assert his authority and quell any potential uprisings. Alexander's claim to the throne was initially challenged by several of his father's former generals and other Macedonian nobles who opposed his succession. However, Alexander was able to quickly assert his authority and win the loyalty of the Macedonian army. When Alexander's father was assassinated, several pretenders to the throne emerged, each claiming to be the rightful heir to the Macedonian throne. One of the most notable pretenders was a man named Arrhenius, who was Philip's illegitimate son and had some support from members of the Macedonian court. However, Alexander was recognized as the legitimate king by the Macedonian army, and Arrhenius was never a serious threat to his rule. Alexander treated him with respect and generosity, appointing him as a joint king and giving him the title of Philip III. Another pretender was a man named Amyntas IV, who was a cousin of Alexander and had previously served as a regent for Philip II. After Philip's death, Amyntas declared himself the rightful king of Macedon, but Alexander defeated him in battle and had him executed. To consolidate his power, Alexander marched south with his army to the city of Corinth, where he demanded the allegiance of the Greek city-states. Many of the cities initially resisted, but Alexander used a combination of diplomacy and military force to bring them into line. He offered amnesty to those who had rebelled against his father, and he also used his army to crush any resistance. The city of Thebes, for example, was destroyed after it rose up in revolt against Macedonian rule. Alexander also took steps to establish his legitimacy as a rightful successor to his father. He had himself recognized as the leader of the Corinthian League, a federation of Greek city-states that had been established by his father, and he had himself crowned king of Macedon at the ancient site of Aegae. Alexander recognized that he needed to establish a strong military presence in Greece in order to maintain his control over the region. To this end, he began building up his army, which included a combination of Macedonian and Greek soldiers. He also established a network of fortifications and military outposts throughout Greece, which helped to secure his hold on the region. Alexander's swift and decisive actions helped him to consolidate his power in Greece after his father's death, and paved the way for his later conquest in Asia, which elevated Alexander's status as a powerful military leader and helped to cement his position as the undisputed ruler of Greece. When Alexander became king, he inherited an army that was already well-trained and well-equipped thanks to his father's military reforms. Alexander was a brilliant military strategist and quickly began to expand his empire. In 334 BC, he led an army of approximately 35,000 men across the Hellespont, a narrow strait connecting the Aegean Sea and the Sea of Marmara, from Europe to Asia Minor, present-day Turkey. This marked the beginning of his campaign against Persia. Alexander wanted to avenge the previous Persian invasions of Greece during the Greco-Persian Wars. He aimed to weaken and ultimately conquer the mighty Persian Empire, which was ruled by King Darius III. Upon landing in Asia Minor, Alexander faced the Persian army led by the regional satraps, provincial governors in ancient Persia. In the Battle of Granicus, Alexander's forces successfully crossed the Granicus River and defeated the Persians, securing a crucial early victory. This allowed Alexander to establish his control over western Asia Minor. Following the battle, Alexander continued his march south along the western coast of Anatolia, modern-day Turkey. He captured important Persian strongholds, including Sardis, the regional capital, and Ephesus. Many cities voluntarily surrendered to Alexander, fearing his military prowess. Alexander then encountered resistance at the fortified city of Halicarnassus, present-day Bodrum. The city was defended by Persian and Greek mercenaries, but after a protracted siege, Alexander's forces successfully breached the walls, marking another significant victory for the Macedonians. In 333 BCE, Alexander confronted Darius III's main army near the town of Issus in present-day Turkey. Despite being heavily outnumbered, Alexander deployed his forces with great tactical skill. His cavalry, led by the renowned Companion cavalry, broke through the Persian center, causing panic and defeating the Persian army. Darius III narrowly escaped, leaving behind his family and immense treasures, which fell into Alexander's hand. Continuing his advance southward, Alexander swiftly captured the Phoenician coastal cities, including Tyre and Sidon. However, the island fortress of Tyre proved to be a challenging siege, lasting several months before Alexander finally overcame its defenses. After subduing Phoenicia, Alexander marched into Egypt. The Egyptians, wary of Persian rule, welcomed him as a liberator. In 332 BCE, he founded the city of Alexandria, which was declared Pharaoh of Egypt. Then came the famous Battle of Gaugamela, which was fought near present-day Erbil, Iraq. It was one of the most significant battles of Alexander's campaign. In a meticulously planned assault, he confronted Darius III's forces once again. Utilizing his phalanx infantry formation, combined with swift cavalry maneuvers, Alexander achieved a decisive victory. Darius III fled the battlefield, leaving his empire vulnerable to Alexander's advance. Following the Battle of Gaugamela, many Persian satraps and regional governors surrendered to Alexander. Key Persian cities, including Babylon and Susa, opened their gates without resistance. Alexander proclaimed himself the rightful ruler of the Persian Empire, adopting Persian titles and customs to gain the support of the conquered population. After this, Alexander pursued Darius III, hoping to capture or eliminate him. The Persian king fled eastward, while Alexander relentlessly chased him. Eventually, in 330 BCE, Alexander caught up with Darius III in Gaugamela, not to be confused with the earlier battle of the same name. Realizing he was cornered, Darius III abandoned his chariot and fled, leaving behind his royal regalia. This marked the end of any organized Persian resistance. With the Persian Empire weakened, Alexander turned his attention to the eastern provinces. He embarked on a series of campaigns through present-day Iran, Afghanistan, and Central Asia, conquering regions such as Bactria, Afghanistan, Sogdia, which is present-day Uzbekistan, and these campaigns involved fierce battles against local rulers and challenging terrain. Driven by his ambition to reach the ends of the world, Alexander crossed also into the Indus River, into the Indian subcontinent. He faced strong resistance from regional kings, most notably King Porus of the Parova kingdom. In the Battle of Hydaspes in 326 BCE, Alexander's forces triumphed over Porus, though it was a hard-fought victory, and this marked the furthest extent of Alexander's empire. Alexander the Great's invasion of Persia not only brought down the once mighty Persian Empire, but also established a vast empire of his own, stretching from Greece to Persia to Egypt, and the total territory of Alexander's empire at its greatest extent in 323 BC is estimated at 5,200,000 square kilometers, and included parts of 26 present-day countries: Greece, Albania, North Macedonia, Montenegro, Serbia, Bulgaria, Romania, Turkey, Cyprus, Egypt, Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Israel, India, Jordan, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Kyrgyzstan, Lebanon, Uzbekistan, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Syria, Tajikistan, and Turkmenistan. It was the largest empire that had existed up to that moment in time. So, what made him stand out as a general? Alexander the Great stood out as a general for a number of reasons, including his strategic vision, tactical innovation, personal courage, charismatic leadership, logistical expertise, and his ability to inspire and motivate his troops. These qualities helped him conquer vast territories and establish an empire that would endure for centuries. Let's talk about some of the key factors that contributed to his success. Alexander was a master strategist who was able to plan and execute complex military campaigns across vast distances. He was known for his ability to adapt to changing circumstances on the battlefield and to anticipate the movements of his enemies. Alexander was also a tactical innovator who was constantly experimenting with new tactics and formations. He is credited with developing the phalanx, a tight formation of soldiers armed with long spears, and he also made effective use of cavalry units to outflank and disrupt enemy formations. Alexander was known for his personal bravery and his willingness to lead his troops from the front lines. He was wounded numerous times in battle and was always willing to put himself in harm's way to inspire his troops and rally them to victory. Alexander was a gifted speaker and had a magnetic personality. He was able to inspire his troops with his passion and vision. He was known for his ability to forge deep bonds with his soldiers and to inspire them to fight for a common cause. Alexander was also a master of logistics, able to move his troops and supplies across vast distances with remarkable efficiency. He was able to maintain his army in the field for years at a time, a feat that few other commanders in history have been able to accomplish. Alexander was also known for his impulsive nature. He was prone to making rash decisions, especially when it came to matters of warfare and conquest. Alexander was also known to have a volatile temper and could be quick to anger. He reportedly had a tendency to lash out at those who opposed him or failed to meet his expectations. Despite his reputation as a warrior, Alexander was also known for his appreciation of culture and the arts. He was a patron of the arts and sciences and was particularly interested in philosophy and literature. Alexander the Great also played a significant role in spreading Greek culture and education throughout his vast empire. Here are some ways in which he achieved this. Hellenistic influence. Alexander admired Greek culture and sought to promote it wherever he conquered. He established Greek cities known as Alexandrias throughout his empire, which served as centers for spreading Greek culture, language, and education. These cities often had Greek-style architecture, theaters, and libraries. Alexander embraced and adopted various aspects of Persian and other conquered cultures, blending them with Greek customs. He encouraged his soldiers to marry local women, fostering cultural exchange and assimilation. This cultural fusion, known as Hellenistic culture, helped to bridge the gap between Greek and non-Greek populations. Alexander promoted cultural integration and syncretism, encouraging the blending of different cultures and beliefs. This approach aimed to create a sense of unity and acceptance among his diverse subjects. Greek and Persian traditions, along with other cultural influences, merged, creating a unique Hellenistic cultural identity. Alexander surrounded himself with philosophers, scientists, and artists who traveled alongside his army. Prominent intellectuals such as Aristotle accompanied him during his campaigns, fostering intellectual and artistic exchanges. These scholars documented the flora, fauna, and cultures they encountered, contributing to the knowledge and understanding of the conquered regions. One of Alexander's most notable contributions was the establishment of libraries and academies in the cities he founded. The most famous of these was the Library of Alexandria in Egypt, which became a renowned center of learning and research. These institutions attracted scholars from various backgrounds and facilitated the translation and preservation of ancient texts. Alexander promoted the Greek language as a unifying force within his empire. Greek became the common language of administration, commerce, and education. This linguistic uniformity facilitated communication and the spread of Greek culture throughout the diverse regions of the empire. Alexander believed in the value of education and encouraged the spread of Greek educational practices. Greek tutors and teachers were sent to different parts of the empire, including Greek educational methods and subjects. Introducing Greek educational methods and subjects. This included the study of philosophy, literature, mathematics, and sciences following the Greek model of education. While Alexander's empire did not endure long after his death, his efforts to spread Greek culture and education left a lasting impact. The Hellenistic period that followed his reign witnessed a rich blending of cultures and ideas, leading to advancements in various fields and laying the foundations for future intellectual and cultural developments. Did he marry and have children? Yes, Alexander the Great did marry and have children. However, his personal life was marked by controversy and speculation, and some details about his relationships are unclear. Alexander married 3 times, and he had several known children. His first wife was Roxana, a princess from the region that is now Afghanistan. They married in 327 BC, and Roxana later gave birth to a son named Alexander IV. After Alexander's death, Roxana and her son were captured by one of Alexander's generals and eventually executed. Alexander's second wife was Stateira II, a Persian princess who he married in 324 BC. She was the daughter of the Persian king Darius III, who Alexander had defeated in battle. Stateira II and her sister were among the most high-profile prisoners taken by Alexander during his conquest of Persia. After their marriage, Alexander treated Stateira II with great respect and even had a city named after her. Alexander's third wife was Parysatis, the daughter of Persian nobleman Artaxerxes III. They were married in 323 BC, just before Alexander's death. Parysatis had a daughter with Alexander who was named after her mother. In addition to his known children, Alexander was rumored to have had relationships with other women and also his close friend and general Hephaestion. However, the exact nature of these relationships is unknown, and some historians have debated whether they were romantic or platonic in nature. Nevertheless, Hephaestion was very close to Alexander. He died in 324 BC during Alexander's great campaign in the eastern provinces of the Macedonian Empire. Alexander the Great was deeply affected by the death of his close friend and companion, Hephaestion. According to historical accounts, he was inconsolable and mourned Hephaestion's death for days. Upon hearing the news, Alexander reportedly fell into a state of deep despair and refused to eat or drink for several days. He also ordered that the doctor who had been caring for Hephaestion be crucified, possibly as an expression of his anger and grief. Alexander then organized a lavish funeral procession for Hephaestion, which included the construction of a grand tomb, games, and sacrifices in his honor. He also ordered the statues be erected in his friend's honor, and that a new city be built near the site of his death. In the weeks and months following Hephaestion's death, Alexander's behavior reportedly became more erratic and unpredictable, which some historians attribute to his grief and emotional turmoil. While Alexander the Great's personal life was shrouded in mystery and speculation, it is clear that he did marry and have children. His wives and children played a role in the political intrigues and power struggles that followed his death, and their fates are a testament to the complex and turbulent times in which they had lived. Did Alexander think he was divine? There is some evidence to suggest that Alexander the Great believed he was divinely favored or even a deity himself. Throughout his reign, he was often depicted in art and literature as a figure with godlike qualities, and he was known to associate himself with the gods in a number of ways. For example, Alexander was said to have visited the oracle of Amun at Siwa in Egypt, where he was reportedly recognized as the son of the god Zeus Ammon. He was claimed to be descended from the Greek hero Achilles, who was said to be the son of the goddess Thetis. Alexander was known to be highly superstitious and believed in the power of omens and prophecy. He often consulted with oracles and diviners before making important decisions, and he was said to have a divine presence that inspired awe and reverence among his followers. Despite these beliefs, it's important to note that Alexander's views on his own divinity were complex and not fully understood. Some historians argue that his association with the gods was more symbolic than literal, and that he used these beliefs to reinforce his authority and justify his actions. Others suggest that he may have genuinely believed himself to be a divine figure. Ultimately, the exact nature of Alexander's belief about his own divinity remains a subject of debate among historians, and is likely that we will never know for certain what he truly believed. So how did he die? After a decade of conquests, Alexander began his journey back west to Babylon. He navigated through challenging terrain, including the Gedrostrian Desert, now part of Iran and Pakistan. In 324 BCE, he reached Babylon, where he planned to consolidate his empire and pursue further campaigns. However, his ambitions were cut short. Alexander fell ill in Babylon in 323 BC. After several days of drinking heavily and participating in vigorous physical activity, Alexander experienced a high fever, chills, and a loss of appetite, which are all symptoms of malaria. Despite the best efforts of his physicians, his condition rapidly deteriorated, and he died 11 days later at the age of 32. The exact cause of Alexander the Great's death is still a subject of debate and speculation among historians and medical experts. However, the most widely accepted theory is that he did die from malaria, which he may have contracted during his military campaigns. Some historians have proposed alternative theories about Alexander's death, including poisoning, typhoid fever, or even murder. However, most scholars agree that malaria is the most likely explanation, given the symptoms he exhibited and the prevalence of the disease in the region at the time. The death of Alexander the Great was a major turning point in ancient history. It marked the end of his ambitious conquest and the beginning of a period of political instability and upheaval in the regions that he had conquered. Here are some of the key events and consequences that occurred in the aftermath of his death. The Successor Wars. Alexander did not leave a clear successor, leading to a power struggle among his top generals known as the Diadochi or successors. These generals, including Antipater, Perdiccas, Ptolemy, Seleucus, and Antigonus, vied for control over different regions of the empire. In 323 BCE, a settlement known as the Partition of Babylon was agreed upon, which divided the empire among the Diadochi. Antipater became regent of Macedon, Perdiccas took control of the central administration, Ptolemy governed Egypt, Seleucus controlled Persia, and Antigonus ruled over Asia Minor. The Successor Wars, fought from 322 to 281 BCE, were a series of conflicts between the Diadochi. They sought to expand their territories and assert dominance over one another. These wars resulted in shifting alliances, assassinations, and battles that reshaped the political landscape of Alexander's empire. As a result of the Successor Wars, Alexander's empire disintegrated into several Hellenistic kingdoms. The most prominent of these were the Ptolemaic kingdom in Egypt, the Seleucid Empire in Persia and Central Asia, and the Antigonid kingdom in Macedon and Greece. These kingdoms adopted a fusion of Greek and local cultures known as Hellenistic civilization. The Hellenistic period witnessed a flourishing of art, literature, philosophy, and science. The patronage of the Hellenistic kings and the blending of Greek, Persian, and Egyptian cultures led to significant cultural developments. Alexandria, under Ptolemaic rule, became a renowned center of learning and scholarship. The Hellenistic kingdoms eventually came under influence and control of the expanding Roman Republic. Rome gradually absorbed and conquered these kingdoms, beginning with the Roman conquest of Egypt in 30 BCE, the end of the Ptolemaic kingdom, and by 31 BCE, the Roman Republic then transitioned into the Roman Empire. But that is another story. Alexander's conquest left a lasting impact on the regions he conquered. The spread of Greek culture known as Hellenism continued through the Hellenistic kingdoms and later Roman rule. Greek language, architecture, philosophy, and art influenced the cultures of the Mediterranean and the Near East for centuries to come. The aftermath of Alexander's death was marked by power struggles, the division of his empire, and the rise of the Hellenistic kingdoms. While his empire did not survive intact, his military achievements, cultural diffusion, and intellectual legacy had a profound and enduring influence on subsequent civilizations. In addition to his military campaigns and cultural influence, Alexander the Great accomplished several significant achievements, and here are some of the most important things that he actually did. Alexander introduced administrative reforms aimed at creating a more efficient and centralized government. He established a system of satrapies, appointing loyal officials as satraps or governors to administer various regions. This helped in governing and integrating the diverse territories of his empire. Alexander worked to foster unity among his Greek and Macedonian subjects. He encouraged intermarriage between Greeks and Persians, adopted Persian customs, and incorporated Persian nobles into his administration. By doing so, he aimed to create a sense of shared identity and minimize cultural differences. As part of his empire-building efforts, Alexander founded numerous cities, many of which bore his name throughout his conquered territories. These cities served as administrative centers, hubs of commerce, and cultural melting pots. Some of these cities, such as Alexandria in Egypt and Bactra, modern-day Balkh in Afghanistan, grew to become major centers of trade, learning, and civilization. Alexander's conquest opened up vast trade routes as well and facilitated commerce exchange between East and the West. The integration of different regions under his rule led to increased economic activity and the flow of goods, ideas, and technologies across his empire. During his campaigns, Alexander and his army embarked on numerous exploratory journeys, mapping new territories and encountering diverse cultures and landscapes. These expeditions contributed to expanding geographic knowledge and laid the groundwork for future explorations and conquests. Alexander's establishment of the Library of Alexandria in Egypt was a monumental achievement. The library became one of the largest and most renowned centers of knowledge in the ancient world, housing a vast collection of books, manuscripts, and scrolls. It played a crucial role in the preservation and transmission of knowledge, attracting scholars and intellectuals from various disciplines. Alexander's military strategies, leadership qualities, and ambitious vision inspired future conquerors, military leaders, and statesmen. His tactics, such as the use of combined arms and the phalanx formation, continued to influence military doctrines for centuries. His remarkable achievements and relentless pursuit of conquest left a lasting imprint on the historical and cultural imagination. While Alexander's reign was relatively short-lived, his accomplishments left an indelible mark on history. His administrative reforms, promotion of unity, city foundations, economic developments, exploration, and cultural contributions all contributed to shaping the world in his time and beyond. Alexander the Great is certainly regarded as a hero by many people, particularly in Greece and other parts of the world where conquests had a significant impact. However, like many historical figures, his legacy is complex and open to interpretation. On one hand, Alexander is celebrated for his military prowess and his conquest of vast territories, which helped to spread Greek culture and knowledge throughout the ancient world. He He is also admired for his personal courage and his ability to inspire and lead his troops to victory. On the other hand, Alexander's conquests were often brutal, involving the massacre of civilians and the destruction of cities. He also imposed his own cultural and religious beliefs on the people he conquered, which led to resentment and rebellion in some regions. Additionally, some historians have criticized Alexander for his arrogance, his rash decision-making, and his tendency to engage in excessive drinking and partying. They argue that his conquests were driven more by his personal ambition and thirst for glory than by a genuine desire to improve the lives of the people he ruled. Ultimately, whether or not Alexander is seen as a hero depends on one's perspective and values. While his legacy is certainly complex, there is no denying that he was a remarkable figure whose achievements and influence have had a lasting impact on world history. Well, that is about it for today's episode. Join me next time when we will be talking about Charlemagne, the father of Europe. Hope to see you there.